Here we are on a overcast, lovely February day on our 5th episode of the series, Distance Hacks. And today we're going to be talking about getting into that power pocket and kind of just a simple trick you can do to, even at home, practice getting in the power pocket so that way it becomes more natural when you get out there to the course. There's a couple of ways to get into the power pocket. My favorite way is something you can repeat at home. It's kind of what I like to say, dancing around the disc. And what that looks like is this. Believe it or not, I spent much of my youth doing this in front of a mirror, trying to figure out how to keep that disc still in my run-up and to get that to be more and more natural. Simply because there is a cornucopia of benefits to getting your disc in the power pocket so you can get a good firm throw on your drive. Now, if you don't end up in the power pocket, usually what that means is that your reach back, or what we love to call a reach back, either happens too late or too soon. And that can have a couple different consequences to it. Let's get into a couple of those examples. This first one is going to be what happens when more or less you start your reach back way too early and you just start running up with it, almost dragging already. All right, so, I mean, that wasn't a bad shot. Nice and low, good turn on it. How did that feel?
It felt late, didn't have the power that I wanted quite behind it. I couldn't get quite that catapult action that we've talked about in previous videos. So it was just lacked a little bit of power. Of course, everything else I tried to keep how it should be, just having that reach back a little early, and that's what the results ended up being.
And so now we're gonna go into what it looks like when you start your reach back way too late, almost as you're stepping into your throw, and kind of see how that looks and see the consequences of that.
I feel a lot more pain like in the pinch of my back. It's just a later pull, more behind the shoulder blade area that really gives a sharp pain. I overall try to be a lot smoother and find the weight of the disc a little more and more of a pull rather than kind of a yank with my back. But it was still a decent throw, just a lot lower than I wanted and a lot less powerful.
All right, so now let's get into when someone as experienced as Jer gets into that power pocket, throws a solid throw, and nukes this disc across the field.
Paige Pierce, nuke.
That was a much more powerful throw. That thing just bombed.
Bomb.
Not only is it an amazing disc, but Jer's an amazing athlete with a cornucopia of skills.
All right, thanks for joining us again as we get into the podcast room to get a little more detailed into these throws. Thanks for following us along on our distance hack. This might be the last one of this series as we'll get it more into videos. I hope you're enjoying. Please leave a like and subscribe and maybe a giveaway at the end. Check back.
All right, here we are back in the podcast room, down to get into the nitty gritty of what we were talking about when we say dancing around the disc. Now, in the field, we kind of break it down to speak really to the beginning players to give them an idea of what it looks like. Whereas in this room, we get a little bit more into how an advanced player can benefit from this information. Now, one note I do want to make is when you look at, say, Jer's form in the video, he'll be going up to throw, and you won't see the disc stay in the exact same spot like you saw in my dancing around the disc version. And so one thing to note is that the goal isn't necessarily to actually have it stay in a spot and not move from there at all, because your run up is going to change, you know, the location of that disc, but really to kind of implant in your mind the allowance for timing of getting into that spot, because it really does get your hips into good position and keeps your elbow kind of high and kind of sets the disc so you can have your arm be in a good position and then kind of get into pulling the weight of the disc from behind you. I know Jer had some good intel on how to talk about pulling the weight of the disc in your throw.
I like to think of it kind of in two different ways. One of, like, at the gym you have the pulley systems. Another at-home version would be somewhat of a lawnmower per se. You create that tension. A lot of people say it's just like pulling a lawnmower. I realize teaching a lot of people here locally that a lot of people actually haven't started a lawnmower before. So when you actually try to bring it into the disc golf course, you have to break it down a little bit more. Here's a little clip of me kind of talking about it and creating that tension and what kind of pull that I'm looking for.
When you're pulling a lawnmower, there's tension the whole way, and there's probably this much of pull that you have to actually do. It's not just a yank, it's a pull the tension, complete the tension, and then once you get past that threshold of the tension, is creating that spin and getting it going forward.
So as you can see I'm looking for that tension to create that smooth pull. There's no jerky motion, there's no slack in my reach back. That creates the most power and spin for me. As you can see, also I want to work on where exactly I'm pulling my disc, whether I want my elbow up or a little more tucked in. Here's a little side by side of exactly the two different styles. A lot of newer players, they tend to keep their elbow in a lot, and it just takes away a little bit of power, but at the same time there's the opposite extreme of people keeping their elbow too high. You got to find that middle ground and get out in the field and practice that a little bit.
And always remember, another good way to practice that is that whole drill of dancing around that disc.
Yeah.
Find the spot of where your disc should be, whether it's, you know, kind of in that sweet spot, and then start learning to leave it there and walk around it so your hips kind of get used to getting into the right place to make your long throw.
So let's take a look one more time at the good throw that I have here, and then we'll end this video with a giveaway. As you can see in the video, I put a good move on it. I find that tension and the complete reach back, and I pull as hard as I can to create as much spin and get as much distance as I can.
Now, if you have watched our previous videos, you know we like to kind of mix it up on how we do these giveaways. One consistent thing, though, is we'd like you to like and subscribe to the video, and also leave your Instagram handle so we can hunt you down and get you your nice disc. Now, to get one of these two discs, I said a word in this video that was dared to me to say by the rest of the shop. So we want you to leave your guess on what word that is, and then leave
the color, blue or red, pink. Let us know.
And let us know which one you'd like.